Now wait a minute. Are you telling me that you won't let me feel our baby kick because you think your uterus is haunted? Oh, with dialogue like this, how could this movie possibly fail? Oh, just wait. There is so much to unpack. So much ineptitude, so much hilarity, so much fucking ridiculous goodness to unpack with this movie. Let's start. Unborn is a Tubi original from the director of I Spit on Your Grave, the 2010 version, and The Exorcism of Molly Hartley. So right there, The Exorcism of Molly Hartley. If you haven't seen that, whew, goodness me, that was pretty goddamn bad. This is like that movie, except with less of a budget. Oh, Tubi, in case you're not familiar with Tubi, it's Tubi. They are a streaming service that's free, so you really can't get much cheaper than that unless they paid you to watch their shit. And quite frankly, I should have been paid to watch this shit, but I'll unpack it a little bit more in due time. But they're a free streaming service of movies, TV shows, and actually, it's a hell of a deal. Again, it's free. You gotta put up some ads. But honestly, there are some movies you can dive into. Some you forgot about. Some original content, since Tubi's numbers have taken off, since streaming service numbers have just exponentially rose in, the couple of years since the pandemic started. And really, streaming service numbers were rising anyway. But that kind of made it possible for services like this to start doing original content. So here's a movie like Unborn. It's not to be confused with The Unborn that had the former Odette Yustman. I don't actually remember what her name is, but about that one, about a woman, or about a young woman that was afraid she was being taken over by a demonic child. I believe that's it. I haven't seen it in a while, but no, not to be confused with The Unborn. This is Unborn. So basically, there is a lesbian couple. There is Rachel, who wants to have a kid. She is played by Jade Harlow, and that's giving me flashbacks to the intro I did for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre sequel. If you've heard George Harrison's My Sweet Lord, congratulations, you get to hear a worse version of it there. But before that, Amber is her wife, played by Ella Thomas, and they are the two main characters in this movie where basically Rachel is trying to have a kid. It's in vitro, not out of vitro, not in veto. No, we're not going to go with veto. We're not going with the Ghostbusters 2 villain. Or is that Vigo? I think it was Vigo. Moving on from that, because even the worst aspects of any Ghostbuster movie certainly way better than this. Okay, so they're trying to have a kid, and on her wedding day, I believe on her wedding day, they don't really explain a whole lot of stuff, Rachel loses her mother. And a number of years later, they're trying to have this kid. They've had failed attempt after failed attempt, and now they're going to have this kid. But Rachel fears that some demonic force or some supernatural being is trying to take over her uterus. Hence the opening line. That was a line written by Joe Reckman in his feature film debut. And look, you got to start somewhere. And I'm sure that Joe actually has some writing chops. They must have literally just said, hack out a script in a weekend. And do it while drunk. Because I think anybody halfway sober would come up with something better. And really, to be perfectly honest, this movie couldn't have been salvaged because the budget was maybe 5 Red Bulls and like a plate of chicken wings. And then maybe they eventually, sprung for a little bit of pizza. Likely Little Caesars that was left in the fridge for about a goddamn day. Look, cheap horror is not the worst thing in the world. There's nothing wrong with doing cheap horror. There's nothing wrong with doing independent horror. And I'm glad Tubi is getting into the original content. They have a movie called Titanic 666 coming out in 6 days. If you don't believe me, check out on IMDb, Titanic 666. It is legit. I saw the trailer. I'm going to be reviewing it because I have no goddamn shame. And I don't learn. I don't learn my lesson. I thought this movie might be okay at times, if not, inept and generic. And it was inept on a spectacular scale. It seemed like actors were just literally phoning in their roles. The lighting, it was like night for night. The daylight lighting wasn't very good. Again, I imagine that the budget wasn't all that good. This movie's probably hacked out in about 3 weeks. And they probably just said, yeah, perfect. 1 take, that's cool. It was like Birdemic, except Birdemic had a little bit of charm. Not Birdemic, the second one, where they actually spent money on, and it turned out not to be all that. They spent some money on it. But it turned out to be not as good because it was more in on the joke. This movie tries to take itself so seriously with so many cliches and so much ridiculousness, you can't help but laugh. That's not the only funny line in this. I mean, where to start with this movie? You have the generic stuff about feeling like, oh, my womb is being taken over by this woman, has her womb being taken over by a demonic being of some description. People are dying around her. People, when they listen to the baby's heartbeat, they go nuts. And Amber doesn't believe her, but then suddenly believes her. If it sounds like I'm kind of spoiling stuff, trust me, there isn't really much to spoil in this, because it's so unintentionally yet intentionally hilarious, to the point you almost want to beat your head into the wall 1 second, and you're laughing your ass off in the next one. That's what I was doing. And you got to start somewhere. People got to be, people need a paycheck, and I really, really hope that the people can grow and do bigger and better things after this. Because there ain't much further to sink than doing something like that. I've seen worse horror movies, don't get me wrong. There was stuff back when Blockbuster and Hollywood Video were a thing. God damn, I miss those days. I would go with one of my best friends and we'd rent movies like this, but they were cheaper. They looked like they were filmed between say shifts with a few friends and like some packets of blood and a little bit of a vampire or werewolf idea. This isn't as bad as Nightmare Man or Satan's Little Helper, because no two horror movies are going to be as bad as that. And those weren't hilarious. Those weren't funny at all. Those are frustrating to the point that I hated every goddamn person in it, and I wanted them all to die. As characters, I mean. In this, you can't help but laugh at almost every scene, because characters will literally be doing one thing, like Amber doesn't believe Rachel and then suddenly believes her. There are these two cops on the case, and then one cop believes something, the other cop doesn't, and then suddenly they have to come to an agreement that, okay, wait, we don't believe she has something to do with this, but she has something to do with this. Let's go here. None of these events connect at all. None of these scenes connect. It's terrible. It's terribly filmed. It is ineptly shot. And that's not even saying that the crew doesn't have talent. I just think that they were told, hey, shoot this shit and we'll make it look good in post. Except they didn't make it look good in post. It was absolutely ridiculous. So, after they find out they're going to have a kid, through the miracle of editing, we see various people come to greet them. It's like a slideshow. It's like a frame that you could touch and everything and see all this stuff, or something you can see on the internet. Hey, look, all these people. Look, this person came in, this person came in, this person came. It's a slideshow. And then Pennywise jumps out of the goddamn frame. That was a good scene. I never want to go in a garage again. So yeah. She sees a face in the image, and it turns out to be her mother. Her mother was in the ultrasound pictures. This was 13 weeks in. Yay! Then she starts having nosebleeds and starts having a whole bunch of stuff. And then a bunch of weird shit starts happening. Really, I don't know why I've decided to describe the plot so much, but it's so fucking hilarious, ridiculous, and goddamn just amazing in its ineptitude. It is agonizingly ridiculous at times. Because there are some scenes that'll have you laughing your ass off. There are other scenes that'll have you beating your head into the goddamn wall, as I said. So yeah, let's get into spoilers. Like it's going to fucking matter. Like it's really going to matter about these goddamn spoilers, because it's a goddamn cheesy horror movie that's on Tubi. Nothing against Tubi. I like the people that, run Tubi. Good for them. To be or not to be. Spoilers! Movie shit, by the way. Okay, yeah, now we are in spoilers. So, Rachel's mother died. Rachel feels that her mother is, trying to contact her. It turns out that her mother was actually part of this death cult headed by this woman named Lilith. She called herself Lilith. And all hail Lilith, the first mother. Long live the first mother. Hail Dorothy, the wicked witch is dead. The king is dead. Long live the king. None of it makes sense. Because she was the first woman before Eve and everything. And then she got kicked out of the Garden of Eden. And there's no angels above. And things ain't what they're supposed to be, because horror movies are not generally this bad. Okay, if anybody gets that song reference, I will love you guys. So, Rachel runs into a guy at a coffee shop who acts a little bit weird and listens to the gut, or listens to the stomach, and hey, they figured out it was a girl earlier. And so he says, it's a girl. But then he starts, getting all upset and everything and, doing all this. And so, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. So basically, anytime you listen to the baby's heartbeat, you go nuts. Okay, that's another reason why I don't want to have kids. So She has a lot of nightmares. A lot of nightmares. Amber says, Rachel, I know you didn't have the best family growing up, so I want you to know that my family's your family. We want you to be well. Rachel gets upset about this, but then doesn't get upset about this. Amber, understandably, is a little bit weirded out by her wife acting weird. The doctor says later, okay, we'll order some blood work. We'll do this. And I'm going to listen to the ultrasound. But then he gets possessed by the sounds through the stethoscope. Damn demonic stethoscopes. Oh no. Damn you, U.S. healthcare. You caused demonology, and I'm going to take this pound of flesh. I'm going to stab myself in the neck now and create a hole of celebrity skin. Okay, so I kind of hit that on the head right there. He stabs himself in the head or in the neck after saying, all hail to Lilith. Long live the first mother. Then she's interrogated about this. And then the police just let her go. Because they say, well, she didn't have any, there were no fingerprints on her. She had blood on her. She's having nosebleeds. But whatever. And then a little bit later, Amber's saying to her, you're eating for two, so start eating. The camera work is rotten. It's either way too far away or right up here where it's like, hey, personal space, buddy. What the fuck are you doing? Stop. Don't do this anymore. So anyway, she says she feels like she's cursed. And they're having this long, arduous scene where I think they were really... I hope this was not just the first take. We did 20 takes and that was the best one, is what popped into my head. And then she says, oh, you're trying to tell me you won't let let me feel our baby kicking because you think your uterus is haunted? A haunted uterus. Haunted coochie is one of my friends called it. Thanks. Can't unsee that. Then she goes to therapy. And the therapist is possessed and all hail to Lilith, but he's fine. We don't see the therapist again. And then she watches this video of Children of Lilith, the Satanic Cult, to YouTube to see literally, I think, the first, baby's first, Windows Film Maker software done. Because look at this. Look at how this stuff is done. There's this guy named John. You never trust a guy named John. Hey, wait a minute. No, you shouldn't trust me either. But the whole point is he was the lone survivor of this cult and everything. Huh. Gee, that's a bit weird. They were all supposed to slash their throats, but he survived. I wonder why. He's evil. He's evil, in case you didn't figure it out. It turns out the mother is part of this cult. She goes to a psychic, this woman putting on this really bad Russian accent. And the baby's good. The other is not so good. The other turns out to be the grandmother. The grandmother, by the way, was the cult leader. The cult leader. That's her grandmother. And then her mother left and Here's a question. Why did the cult leader look like she was about 30 and the mother looked like she was about 20? Did she have her when she was 10? I don't want to know any more about this. Rachel basically finds out about this. She finds out about this. And then she's holding on to the hands to do this psychic thing. But then the babcha takes over this evil grandmother and crushes the lady's hands. And she has an aneurysm because crushed hands. No, let go. How do you do this? No. And then the psychic dies. And Rachel just leaves. Okay, yeah, thanks. All right. Did she take her money back? I mean, whatever. It's not like the lady was going to use it. Maybe they can get the cat out there to do psychic stuff. In fact, I demand to see a psychic cat and make a movie about that, because it would certainly be better than this. So, I wrote down at this point, help me, please. Help me, old Saturn space lizards. Help me. Ugh. They got to cut it out. They got to cut out the kid. Not cut out of the movie. They can't do that. We can't go to the cops, Amber says, because even though you killed this person unintentionally and they already investigated you for this other thing, we can't go to the cops because that would make too much sense. The cops are doing their own investigation still, by the way. Rachel wants to go talk to the cult guy. But then Amber's texting people. Amber commits her. And it turns out this doctor was really goddamn creepy that wanted to do a whole bunch of experiments to her. Amber comes to visit her and realizes, oh shit, this is bad. I should have realized that this doctor was a goddamn creep. The doctor, or the cops, by the way, are trying to come to a conclusion about what the hell's going on here. There's a black cop and an Asian cop. The Asian cop is played by, let's see, I wrote this down, Rich Ting. Well, okay. Nothing against the guy. Had to write that down just in case. Anyway, by the way, the doctor's such a creep, the doctor tries to take Rachel away, and then Amber says, oh, I'm in the parking garage. There's the doctor. I'm going to hit him. Vehicular homicide. Hooray! And then one of the cops gets possessed, trying to choke out the doctor who's possessed, and then Rich Ting ends up shooting his partner. In a really, really bad shootout that they recap 3 minutes later. Help! Help! Please! Help me, Spock! Help me! Help me. No, I don't know what I'm on about. I don't care that I'm acting all weird because I'm trying to act out the frustration and humor that I felt with this movie. Anyway, they go to the cult leader guy, or the cult survivor guy. Hey, it turns out the guy's evil, that the guy actually lured them there, and that the doctor was possessed and going to lure them there. But you came here all on your own, and I'm going to make Amber possessed. Gradually, every time you contract, she'll be possessed. Okay. And then Amber, takes some gas cans, and she's going to set some stuff on fire, seemingly. And this guy, John, again, never trusted John at all, old or otherwise, especially old Johns like this. Stop pointing at myself, me. What are you doing? So, the lone detective shows up and then gets hit with a sledgehammer, and why don't you call my head? And then, basically, Rachel's attached to this table, tries to get Amber to go away, but Amber is chained to this goddamn thing, or chained to this area. She ends up somehow getting around, and John comes in, and she hits him in the head with a sledgehammer, why don't you call my name? Breaks his leg, puts the chain on him, is trying to get away, but then gets possessed. And basically the idea is the mother needs somebody to die to be reborn. Why are you possessing the baby then? What? Why are you doing that? What's going on? Who came up with this? My God. And this was the cut that made it. I could only imagine the shit that was left out. And some of this shit should have been left out. Like all 94 fucking minutes of it. Sammer keeps going back and possessed. Back and possessed. Back and possessed. Make a deal. Spin the wheel. Make a deal. Okay. Hey, John, you kill yourself. And Amber, you go. Okay. But then she says, hey, if Amber comes back, she's mine. Your soul is mine. And then Rachel raises the kid. And Amber's fine, and Amber brings a long-haired hippie guy that's going to bring some friends. It's a new cop. Yes, it is. Ah! The sad thing is, this isn't even the worst thing I've seen. Because I laughed at this. I might watch some scenes again. It's really stupid. It didn't infuriate me as much as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre sequel. It didn't infuriate me as much as the 355 or a couple others. Oh, it's bad. It's really, really bad. You have to see this shit to just see how bad it is. Haunted Uterus. It gets an F, though. For hilarity, it gets a B+. But it gets an F as a movie. It's fucking terrible. Agree, disagree, what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon. Haunted Uterus, everybody.